Okay, we are, looks like we're about ready to go. We have a few people in the room and we have a few people online. And so we will start with a speech I just heard at Fantastic Communicators. And one of our qualified speakers gave this speech, and I was so impressed, and I thought it fit right in with Memorial Day because the title of his speech is The Tale of Two Heroes. The Tale of Two Heroes. And speaker number one, Roger Bowman. Roger, take it away.
Thank you, Tom. Well, this is kind of splitting the difference now between Memorial Day and Father's Day. You'll see. Tonight, I'm going to tell you two stories of two heroes, one of combat and one of crime. Both are true. The first story I'm going to tell you is the one of crime. It begins in the 1920s in the city of Chicago. It was the time of gangsters, and one man stood above them all, Al Capone. He was the king of crime. He smuggled alcohol, he ran rackets, and he silenced rivals. He was brutal, very feared, and untouchable. Why untouchable? Because of one man, his lawyer, a man named Easy Eddie. On the outside, Easy Eddie was a nice family man. But Easy Eddie had discovered that he had a gift. He had a natural instinct for manipulating people, which he used for evil. He protected Al Capone ruthlessly. He bribed cops, he bribed judges, and he bribed witnesses. And when the bribes didn't work, he ensured violence would follow. Now, these weren't idle threats. Let me give you an example. One time, Al Capone beat a man to death with a baseball bat. Bam! Right in the middle of a crowded restaurant. Not one witness would testify. Zero. That was Easy Eddie's work. His job was to silence people. And Al Capone rewarded Eddie. Eddie lived a lavish lifestyle, including the use of an entire city block gifted to him by Al Capone. But Easy Eddie was a conflicted man. You see, the family man that Easy Eddie was on the outside had a problem. As his son grew older, well, his son asked him the same questions, well, all sons ask their fathers. Dad, what do you do for work? And Easy Eddie's standard answer of being a lawyer, the noble protector of the innocent, that was becoming harder and harder for Easy Eddie to say. He knew he could never tell his son the truth, that he protected a greedy psychopath from the repercussions of that psychopath's violence. But inside, he knew that was the truth. And as he watched his son blossom, he felt he could not live that lie. He had to set a better example for his son. So Easy Eddie turned state's evidence. Yep, he went to the police. He helped the authorities convict Al Capone, despite the danger to himself. And as a result, Al Capone went to Alcatraz, and Easy Eddie went on a hit list. And Easy Eddie knew it. He was under no illusion. Bringing down the boss of a lucrative empire meant he would have to be killed. And soon after, he was killed. Easy Eddie was machine gunned to death while driving his car. Easy Eddie had knowingly sacrificed his life to set a better example for his son. Inside Easy Eddie's pocket, police found a note to his son, and it read, "The clock of life is wound but once, and no man has the power to tell just when the hands will stop. At a late or early hour, now is the only time you own. So live and love and toil with will. Place no faith in time, for the clock may soon be still." My second story is one of combat. It takes place at the beginning of World War II in the Pacific Ocean, less than 2 months after the Pearl Harbor attack. A squadron of fighter pilots aboard the aircraft carrier USS Lexington was launched to intercept a group of Japanese bombers that were heading towards the carrier. Now, during the flight out, one of the pilots, a pilot named Butch, noticed that his fuel tank had not been fully filled. It hadn't been topped off, and he didn't have enough fuel to reach the intercept point, fight the Japanese, and return. So Butch notified his commander, and the squadron commander told Butch, turn around, go back to Lexington. And that wasn't terribly uncommon, so that's what Butch did. He peeled off and was flying back alone back towards the Lexington, when on that trip, he ran across 8 new Japanese bombers. These were bombers that were far closer to the Lexington. He knew these bombers would be over the Lexington before any new fighters could be scrambled. The realization immediately sank in. Outnumbered 8-1, he could run, or he could fight. Butch chose to fight. Now, Butch's aircraft happened to be one of the few fighters that had cameras mounted in the wings along with the guns. So everything that I'm saying happened was borne out on film. One at a time, Butch went in, twisted, turned, attacked, downing 4 of the bombers, and then he ran out of ammunition. With 4 more bombers ready to pounce, he knew the Lexington was in danger. He flew straight into another bomber and used his wing to shear off the tail of that other Japanese bomber, sending it into the ocean. Now, each of these bombers had defensive machine guns of their own, and they had by now sprayed innumerable bullets into Butch's fighter, just boom. But amazingly, it still flew. And the 3 remaining bombers, having used up their fuel, zigging and dodging Butch, had to turn for home. Butch limped his damaged aircraft back to the Lexington, where he crash landed. But he was okay. He had saved himself, he had saved the carrier, and he had saved the 3,000 men aboard the carrier. Butch had become the first ace of the Pacific Theater and the first naval aviator to receive a Medal of Honor. The people of his hometown in Chicago named their international airport after Butch. You may have heard of this airport. It's called the Chicago O'Hare Airport. I'll conclude with this thought. I think you'd agree, Butch O'Hare is the type of man every father would want his son to become. I think it's the type of man Easy Eddie had hoped his son would become. And he did. Butch O'Hare was Easy Eddie's son.